think he heard that.
Hello, Taylor. You can hear me okay there?
I can hear you, Lee.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, hey, hey.
I can hear you, Lee.
Morning, Dave. You can hear me okay?
I've got you, Lee. How are you, mate?
Very, very good. Good morning, Brendan. Alison, how are you?
She's in flow, mate. She's in flow, that woman. Hey, Alison, in flow. Al?
In flow. Good morning.
Good morning. Got Natty Piper on there. Dan. Lisa Dixon. She looks like a news presenter there, doesn't she?
She does.
Grafton's on board. You mean? Beautiful. All right, Leo, I'm going to let you take it away in just a sec. I just think, obviously, we're nearly at the 6-month mark of the year, so it's a really good time to sort of have a little look at what you're doing. I think where I reckon a lot of people go wrong is we think we need to make massive changes to make massive difference. To me, it's just about making little changes that will actually make a massive difference. So now's a really good time to take a bit of time out, look at your business plan, look at what's working, what's not working. I spoke to Lee yesterday. I said, I'm really proud of the team. I said, you know, the people that are putting in the work, it's really obvious, and they're doing great. And people that aren't doing as much work, it's quite obvious as well. And you get the rewards or suffer the consequences if you're not doing the work. But I just want to thank everyone. I think you're going to talk a little bit about vendor management again today, Lee. We've talked about that quite a lot. But like I said to someone, is it vendor management or process of sales shouldn't really change no matter what the market's doing. If you've got the right systems and the right structure, it doesn't really what the market's doing. It's just a different conversation and maybe a different energy. Would you agree with that, Lee?
I would. And also how we connect that into the listing work that we did so that the vendor management sequence becomes one sequential way of working.
Beautiful. Well, I'm in a meeting right now, so I'm going to pop back to that meeting. I'll leave it to you, Lee. Good to see you getting a little bit of refreshment in there, Batesy, getting ready for the day. Keep it going, mate. Keep it going.
Thank you, Dave. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session. What I'd like to discuss with you today is a bit of a critical review of where we are, and as just reinforcing what Dave said, congratulations. It's been a big year, some great results out there. And your areas have actually done really well against the national areas where we've seen the challenges. So that's another good part of where you work and what you do, but also as a company, what you're bringing together. Now, I'm going to put a question in chat for you that I would love answers to throughout the session. And my question is this: what is one thing you are passionate about that you would like to learn next and activate to further progress your career? And when we look at, I'm going to share screen so I can do that for you. When we look at the work that you do with myself, find, list, communicate, and sell. And again, I'm really proud of this team that claiming doors became a normal way of working and getting the price update out there, understanding 900 connections gives us 46 transactions has become normal for you. Whereas for a lot of people around the country, that isn't normal at all. And they have to work harder in a wider way to bring things together. When we look at list, that was our last session on the advanced listing workshop. And I just want to share a couple of things on that. After I did the advanced listing workshop with yourselves, I then went on to do that around the country. And probably 600-700 agents have been through that module now, and things progressed as we went through. But one thing I want to bring to your attention, which is a good part of your learning, is how the other agents were working was of concern to me. They've become very lost in their presentation, where they were handing all power over to the owner, saying, oh, what would you like to do? And you could go for sale or auction. What would you like to do? And the owners would have been a little bit like, that's what I'm paying you for. I want you to tell me what to do. Yes, I'm the boss, but you're the expert. And I really picked it up right across the nation. And my other observation was the fees challenge. And the challenge of fees that was interesting was no one wanted to bring up fees. Absolutely no one. They were all scared of the fee conversation. And for a lot of you, you would remember only a fill-in session for myself, a couple of, it would have been last session, that Tristan Rowland spoke to you about his world. Now, I'm not sure what you got out of the Tristan Rowland talk, but he's a unique human, you would say, when you look at, the fees he's doing, but how he approaches fees. And during that tour, I ended up coming up with a way of explaining fees that became really powerful. And I'll get you to write this down if I could. And I want you to write down the technique of fees 1, 2, 3. So my little label for you, and you know how I work here. So claiming doors is a label. Live mode, sell mode is a label. Well, this one's called fees 1, 2, 3. And what I picked up was the agents didn't want to bring up fees at all, which means they're nervous, they're scared. But if you just think about that from the consumer's perspective right now, if you as an agent don't bring up fees, who does? So there's the owner saying, I really like this agent, I like this brand, they're really good, but how much do they charge? Because the industry isn't forthcoming with that information. So it's a case of, how do I know? Are you 1%? Are you 5%? Are you 3%? So that's a pretty dark moment for the owner. And when the owner asked the agent, so what are your fees? The one thing I picked up there was the agent was on the back foot the whole time. Whereas when we bring up fees ourselves, and especially within this group, you should be proud of your fee. There was a lot of people and a lot of hands touched the property through the elders group to get an incredible outcome and result for our owner. And I think that psychology shift of being proud of your fee and delivering it and bringing it up yourself is completely different to them saying, so Brendan, what's your fees? And you're on that back foot again, and we get into that corner. So fees 1, 2, 3 works like this. There's 3 sets of numbers that people are interested in. And if you are to think of fees 1, 2, 3 in a way of, I'm going to do all the numbers together. So again, we've got our presentation stages that we go through with discovery and proof points and so forth. But that confirmation of things is going to be around fees. So if I was to hop in a dialogue and say, Alison, let's discuss all the fees of your property and the fees we need. Let's discuss all the numbers of your property. Firstly, we've got the fees that we'll be investing in the agency, the marketing fees required, but then more importantly, what the property's actually worth in the active marketplace. Let's discuss those 3 sets of numbers. Now, firstly, with the fees, to have a team-based business like ours work on it, where everyone is working, not just one agent working on it, any decent company is going to charge you 2.75% of the sale price or whatever your fee is. Now, with the marketing for a property of this level, I think you're going to see an investment of 5,000 to 7,000. It's going to get us our results that we require in the marketplace. And we have some great options there for you of not even using your own funds. It comes out of settlement using our sale funder process. But more importantly, let's discuss the actual profit and price that your property could receive in the marketplace. So suddenly, if I've gone into the pricing of the property third, I've left fees of the property 2 kilometres behind me. So instead of just being fees, doing the numbers all together, fees first, any decent company is going to charge you, the marketing, and then onto the pricing side. And that's fees 1, 2, 3. You're doing it all together, doing all the numbers all together in one go. Team, does that make sense? Everyone got that? All in one go? Awesome. Okay. Now, I've still got my question in the meeting chat there. What's one thing you are passionate about that you would like to learn next and to activate or further activate into progressing your career? Would love some answers there when you get a chance to what it is that you want to do next. Because I think about this group a lot in the way of you would be one of the highest trained teams in the country. You see the largest variety of trainers, be it myself or Josh or the other mindset people that Dave brings in. So what you've got to do there is say, well, where does that all sit with what I'm doing and how that comes together, and to keep reviewing that. So today I do want to discuss the managing of vendor expectations. Now, as I first said, the pricing in your area is actually weathered up really, really well. Whereas in other parts of the country, it's been very dramatic in the prices that owners are not accepting in order to free up equity. And there's a couple of resources we've had to bring in to bring that all together. I'm going to do a review of that and share my screen and take you through it. So firstly, can everyone see my screen okay? We're all good. Wave there from your Brody, that'd be good. Tremendous. Great. Okay, finalists communicate and sell. I love the cycle that we go through, and that's completely connected to also your business plans. And when we look at your business plan, if I put your name in the center of that little section there where you're looking at that, you know, it's very, very amazing to understand generating business, marketing you, follow up for future business. Now, I don't know what your number one listing stream is at the moment, but that's something that's constantly on my mind of what's generating business, what's coming through. Marketing you. Now, actually, this year, you guys have done some amazing video-based marketing. Actually, I've been chatting with people that around the country of what you're actually doing there and how the results are coming up for that. And especially with that top 5 sales in the area, explaining the other sales. Absolutely love what you guys are doing with Clint, and I hope you're getting results out of that. Following up for future business, getting yes for that appraisal. And I'm just in review at the moment of where you are and what you want to progress on. And as we know, our replacement word for appraisal is assessment. Now, the presentation and selling plan was a very big part of our work in the last time I was actually in-house there, which links to that property marketing plan. And I just want to share this part with you as an important part of managing vendor expectations. Today, at about 11 o'clock, the coaching tip that's coming out features Chris Henry, and it's called Plan D. And Plan D is sort of the new listing conversation that's connected to stage marketing. Now, what a lot of you wouldn't understand in stage marketing, which is a huge part of our listing presentation work that we do. In stage marketing, there is those 4 campaigns: VIP preview, social, portal, press. Press meaning digital DLs with a QR code in order to get a result out of those. But stage marketing, we were presenting that as just a clever way of being a good presenter, and this is the professional marketing we do. That has now become the actual vendor conversation, where you're sitting with the owner and say, John and Helen, what I want to discuss now is the active marketplace and what's happening out there. And all the results we've got of late have been very different to 6 months ago. And in some of our results, Plan A works perfectly. We get it out there, we target the right audience, we get a great result, and the owner moves on with their plan. However, there's been a lot of properties that didn't sell on Plan A and they had to go to Plan B. And some of those have gone to Plan C and Plan D, meaning with the change of market as we've seen it, we've got to be more careful than ever how we stage the marketing and adjusting the price to improve the price to get to our consumer. Now, let's start a dialogue for a second. I love the word improving the price. When we say to an owner we need to adjust the price, they feel they're about to deposit $50,000 cash into the bank account of the buyer. Whereas to improve the price, and let's make sure we understand the context of that, to improve the price means that in that search engine optimization of REA, the market has spoken, the buyers at that level have seen it. We now need to improve it so it comes to our next group of purchasers that are going to be looking at that part of the property. And that's really what we mean by improve the price. But back to dialogue. So the stage marketing campaign, when we talk about our VIP preview now, that is our plan A. We might have someone who's registered, ready to go, been looking for months. They've missed out on a couple of properties on the rebound. And when we bring those through, Helen, those people are, it could be day one for yourself, but it's 8 months of time or 8 weeks of time for those people that they couldn't find a property. And if we get them to engage, that'll be fantastic. If not, we then go to our social campaign. And with social, that's where we're attracting the off-market purchaser. They're not looking at REA, they're not looking at domain, but they may move for a property like this. But in those first 2 campaigns, that's when we've really got to get that adjustment of price correct. And adjusted meaning the buyer engagement level where someone would actually engage in the property. Because campaign 3 is portal. And once we go to portal, that's when we've got to be in the right language. And that's when we've improved the price to get that result. And then campaign 4 will see us on, which is really our plan D. You know, if we haven't got a result through those first stages, we're then into a bit of a holding pattern until we can land the right person for you. But I'll guide you along the way. But I think the listing conversation has gone through such shape and change in what we bring through that it's really important. And again, this came up in our last session. Don't deliver content until you've got a connection. Don't deliver content until you've got a connection. And just for those of you in review of that one, it's quite easy to go into a lounge room, you start speaking, and you may even explain stage marketing. It goes straight over their head because they had no connection to you or what you were saying. And that's why those 4 areas of a business, and we will revisit that, is so important. Now, firstly, we've got some wonderful notes coming through here, and I want to reflect on those. So Greg Bates just looked at my stats for the appraisal to list over the last 6 months. I'm running at a 40% appraisal to list, which I would like to increase. Greg, that's interesting. Can I ask you a question? What do you think the change is within you that's changed that metric for you?
I'm not quite sure, Lee. I've been looking at a lot of stats over the last couple of days of our performance over the last 6 months. So I don't know, maybe I've tried to tweak my listing presentation too much, maybe they're not understanding my message.
Okay, this is very common, by the way, for everyone. The hardest thing in presenting is this: strip it back. How do you get just a couple of points across where you get that connection and you can move on? And remember, presenting is not about being impressive. It's about getting the yes. And sometimes you got a connection early, jump straight into, do you have a spare key or will I get one cut? Like, one reason why we lose a lot of business is we overwhelm the consumer. And the only reason any of us try and overwhelm people is we're trying to be better than the competition. I'll give you a tip. Do not worry about the competition. Focus on your own game. When you present, what's the clarity points that you're getting across that someone connects with versus who's better than who's better than that? No one cares. The consumer cares about selling one house once. Greg, question for you, and I really love this question because it's in line with all our sessions. When you go in there, what's just 3 things that you want to get across?
Well, first thing is rapport. So I want to obviously build that rapport straight up. Secondly is a plan that is going to suit them and get the job done. And 3 is I'm the best person for them to represent them.
Okay, good answer. So for everyone listening, I want us to modify a word here. The word create rapport is different to earn rapport.
Mm-hmm.
So creating rapport is where you're asking great questions because you're using the technique of vendor involvement where they say, I really like this person. Versus traditionally, when we're all taught to create rapport, if they like golf, you like golf. If they've got a dog, you love the dog. They've got a cat and you hate a cat, you still love the cat. So that there causes its challenge. Whereas earn rapport is where you're going in and you're asking those great questions. So, and you know my feelings on this, and I think it's one thing I've learned this year so much is teaching technique is difficult. People don't understand what technique is at times. So vendor involvement is a technique. And when we ask that question, you know, just suppose the property was sold, you've engaged elders to do that job. What we miss most about the home. And it's at that point, Greg, they're realizing you really want to know that. And because that's going to make a difference in the result. So the questions, you know, Greg, I would go into your world there and say, okay, what's my top 5 questions? Because that's going to allow me to create rapport. Now you've hit off on number 1 really well. Then you want to go into your selling plan. Now, all of you remember claiming doors so well because it permeates in your brain from the learning. So when I say to you, you know, what's going on in prospecting, claiming doors is just there for you. Well, I think your whole listing conversation is called stage marketing. That's all it is. By staging the marketing, Greg, you've hit number 2 that you want to do there, and that you've got a plan to sell the property. And number 3 is probably the most interesting one. And that's when they think this is the best person for the job. Well, 1 and 2 do the heavy lifting of all that. So all we've got to do then is get into that final grand finale of them understanding, and this is where you want to get to yes as fast as you can. You know, how would you feel about us handling the property for you? And it's as simple as that, where people, you know, no, all good. But by the way, what are your fees? And I really want you to take this on board because it was such an observation. I'd like to say to you now for your consideration, if they have to say to you, what are your fees? You're not doing a great presentation here. The fact they have to ask you is a challenge because we know none of your competitors want to have the fee discussion. They're scared of that conversation. And why are they scared? They've missed out on properties on fees before. Well, I'm convinced now this is a psychological issue. And yet if you're proud of your fees and you bring it up and you say, let's discuss all the numbers of the property. Firstly, we've got the investment in the fees of the elders to represent you, what the marketing would cost, and then most importantly, what the property is going to achieve in the active marketplace. So firstly, your investment in elders. To have us on board as a team-based business, our fees are. With the marketing, I think a program at the level at would be where we need to be. But let's discuss the pricing of the property. Now, whenever we price a property, there are 2 figures. There is the mathematical and emotional. But can everyone just see now how fees 1, 2, 3 becomes another sequence? So we've got our prospecting sequence. Greg, what you just mentioned then was a listing sequence, which I think is really, really important. And everyone, strip it back as much as you can. You're not a public speaker and they're not at a seminar. And what are the 4 things an owner wants to know about their property? There's only 4 things we can discuss. What are they? Brendan, what would they be?
Well, price, obviously, or what they think the home's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Strategy, auction, private treaty, fees, and maybe time frame.
You are correct, but if we have to put that into consumer speak, it goes like this.
It's in it for me.
And there is a technique for this, by the way. Has everyone got me there? We're all good? So there is a technique for this that makes this all work for you. When you're in a listing conversation, which is going to be directly listed to managing vendor expectations, you actually say to them, before I get started and show you what we do at Elders, can I ask you, what would you like to achieve out of this meeting? And they will only give you 2 of the 4 answers. But the 4 answers of this are this. So let's say I say, what would you like to achieve out of this meeting? They go, I want to know your fees and how you're going to market the property. Happy to discuss that for you, but I'll also discuss. And you make up the other 2. If that doesn't come up, you do it this way. John and Helen, what I'd like to do now is just discuss the most 4 important points that people most ask us when they put their property to the market. And the first one is, what is the property worth? How long it's going to take to sell? What are the changeover costs? And how we market the home should you decide to engage us? but they are the four things, the only four things, everyone, that you can discuss in the presentation. But I've got to tell you, a consumer gets really excited that there's only four things to discuss versus them saying, an agent comes in, they say, oh, there's 105 reasons why you should list with us. Number one, and people are like, security, I'm ready to vomit. This is not good. So it's really important that we keep it simple. The world is so bombarded with so many passcodes, things they need to do. This is happening. Watch the hackers, that they need a real simple chat with us to bring that together. And that's why I love training you guys around sequences. So when Greg says that, I can just see that for what it is, and that is the answer to it. Now, another one that came in was from Natalie. I'm focused on claiming doors and touching she's touching someone, touching with old clients, but I'd like to get from there to the listing side of it. So, okay, that's our prospecting sequence. I'll bring that back up. And we've discussed that one, and it'll be good to see that you guys are actually compliant to that again still. Lisa Dixon, get more confident with the auction process and work on the after sales process being more process-based. That's an interesting one. So the auction process is such a permanent and great level of sale. I haven't checked in to see if you're still doing timed auctions or not, because they come in waves for people. But that digital sale across the country, for those that have done it, has had great impact. And I think when you see the new purchaser interfaces coming out from Realtair, you'll be very, very impressed with how the consumer's feeling about the digital sale. But I think that's a constant thing that we need to do in order to bring clarity to everyone who's buying from you, including the vendor. So let me just go back to my screen, and I'm going to move you through the next part. Okay.
Sorry, Lee, can I ask a quick question?
You can.
The fourth thing that you mentioned about what consumers like to discuss, what was that? Sorry.
No, love you asking this. So, John and Helen, what I'd like to discuss now is the most four key things that people want to know from us as their agent so they can make a decision of which way they go with their property. And these are the most four important things. The first one is, what is the property worth? The second one is, how long will it take to sell? Because as we know, price equals time. The third, so we've got, what's the property worth? How long is it going to take to sell? Well, the changeover costs and how we market the home should you decide to go with us. Now, changeover costs, everyone, is Latin for agent's fees. Okay? So people want to know that costing side of it. That will never, ever go away. It's an important part of what we do. So what's the property worth? How long is it going to take to sell? What are the changeover costs? And how we market the home should you decide to move? And that is what that is.
Awesome. Thank you.
Pleasure. Now, I'll come to that at the end. I've got a great gift for you today. We'll come to that. Okay. When we look at this filter, and you guys have seen this slide 4,000 times because it's my favorite filter, but it's the filter over the topic we're doing. So today today we are discussing managing vendor expectations. And the best way to manage vendor expectations is to have the listing conversation stripped back so tight that people understand exactly what they're getting. It's very different to winning the business and then it'll just sell fast. We're bringing the setup to sell and those meetings into the conversation. But when we look at the five key imperatives for this, clarity of vision, goals, and objectives. In managing vendor expectations, the clarity here is not all business is good business. We've got to be very careful of what we take on right now, and we've got to make sure we get to the truth of what the owner is actually doing. Is the owner definitely selling the property, or are they not sure about it and just playing with us to see how we go? Now, to do that, determining a strategy and focusing on it. Our strategy in managing vendor expectations is to get to the truth. And to get to the truth is the owner is paying a commitment fee. And what's a commitment fee? Could be the styling, the repairs of the property, the incredible marketing campaign. But are they putting money up front into the property to get it sold? Now, a little vendor moment for you, because as you know, or may know, I've got a commercial property on the market. Not sure if I told you this story or not, but it's an important one. My agents came to see me and said, Lee, that amphitheatre's got to go. We need the parking spots back. So I think it was $49,000 later, I've had to remove my amphitheatre, which I'm still not over. And the property has now got an offer on it, which is way below my expectation, but it's looking better every day. And suddenly I'm committed versus the agent might be thinking, oh, he's not going to accept that offer and he's not going to spend all that money removing the amphitheatre. I'm moving on with my plans. I want to do this. And I just say that because sometimes we think the owner's thinking something, but we could be completely wrong. When an owner's decided to sell, they've already mentally moved on from the property. Pricing's just part of the process. But many agents are listening to the original broadcast. So communicating effectively with our identified market. Plan D, the stage marketing, is going to be part of that strategy. Understanding your customers' perspectives and priorities. If they're selling right now and they've got to the truth, they're definitely going to sell it, they're paying a commitment fee, you have got the right person on board. Then organising your business to deliver and surpass customer expectations. Now, let me just bring up something which is really, really important. And one moment, let me just shift that round to there. Okay, just going to share screen again. And here we go. That didn't work, so that went well. I love live Zoom. Okay. Everyone can see my screen? All good. When we look at this managing vendor expectations challenge, the first thing is we're trying to get trust. And professional trust is just like earning rapport. So when Greg chats about, okay, I feel I've overcomplicated the listing conversation, that's easy to do. We've overcooked it and we've gone too far. But in building trust, vendor involvement will bring that in, having a plan and them understanding the next price is going to be, and we're going to need to improve the price throughout the campaign. Now, the best way to get the owner to understand that is promotions. And I love you to understand this word properly. Promotions means, hi, Helen, this week I'm sending out a text message to 135 buyers who've registered for our range and above. I'll let you know how we go with that. And then you come back and say, Helen, none of those people wanted to see through, but it was very important we communicated with those. And what I'm getting at there is many, many people will do the work, but not inform the owner of the promotion. And to them behind the scenes, you're not doing anything. I don't know where you are. Nothing's happening. So I'm going to change agent. And that's why our questions to the owner become very, very important. You know, what are we going to do? What's your plan B if you don't get the result you're after? And that communications process becomes critical. Now, there is your vendor report that goes out. I love that. That's all good. But continuous reporting. So continuous reporting is you're speaking with one of your purchasers and they say, oh, Lee, thanks for all your help, but we've just purchased a property off LJ Hooker. Which one did you buy? Oh, we purchased this one. Oh, you did so well. That would have been another 100 grand with us. And then you're informing the owner that the buyer who came through your property is now purchased off LJ Hooker and they got it for X amount of dollars less. So that continuous style reporting becomes very important right now. From there, we've got our property modifications that's going on. So the pricing modifications. So improving the price becomes a very, very important part of what we're doing so that the owner can understand exactly where we are. And then from there, the defining moments. So the defining moments of managing vendor expectations is the signboard going up. It's where the owner understands that, okay, we've had 10 people through, we've had no buyer engagement level, let's discuss price. Whereas traditionally, we're letting it go week 1, week 2, week 3. Then on the 4th week, we're hoping to get some movement. That traditional sequence is not working the way that it was. And that's why we've got to provide all the facts and evidence we can in order to get to the truth with the owner. And you can look at that little 9-box exercise there and say, okay, if I was to run this test over my current owners, have I got professional trust? Do I report on the promotions as they're going through? And that could be by text message or email, phone call, just letting you know that this is what we're doing today, just letting you know. So I've got the questions to ask along the way. Now, in the communications process, a lot of you may or may not remember, but from the complete salesperson course that you have been through and done the modules of that, we did a lot of work around the everything email. And I might just do a bit of a robotic moment there for you. So I'm going to bring that up on screen. Okay, so everyone's got our robot number. And if you don't, I will bring it up on screen now and I'll get you to do the text back so that we've got it. So for those of you that don't have our robot number, which is where you text something to it and it sends you something back, it's 0429 272 009. That is our robotic number for those who are joining us for the first time. And just so you've got this as an asset, text the letters EEM, everything email. So you're texting the letters EEM for the everything email. Now, the everything email is a very, very important part of our system. And the reason it's an important part of our system is that is what's used when an owner won't accept a good and quality acceptable offer. And the everything email, just for this recording, break glass in an emergency, you're sending this one when you may not represent them after sending this. And when you review that email as one of your assets, what I'd love you to do is understand the headings are important because, it talks about the story, but the sequence is there's a psychology to the sequence of that email. And right now, I've never seen the everything email used so much. And then I get the text back saying we had a no, we got a yes. We had a no, we got a yes. But in between those headings, and you can read the email and, that's actually a live example of someone who got a yes after a no. But you've got to put your heart into the story of what it is. It's like a business case study, but it has such influence on the owners that the everything email is structured in a way to get to yes. And it's like a big part of influence as it goes through. But the everything email doesn't work as well unless you are using the thank you for listing sequence. So the next thing I need you to text is TFL. TFL, and that is going to shoot you back the thank you for listing letter. Now, obviously, that can be an email letter, depending on the age of the person that you are working with. Cool. Everyone got that okay? That's come through. Little wave there, Tamara. Little thumb. Thank you. Very good. Now, we've come to a time of our working together that I want to share a really important resource for you. And that resource is to do with frameworks. Have any of you ever gone into Frameworks Digital? Give me a hands up if you've ever been into Frameworks Digital. Give me a thumbs down if you've never been in there. Okay, I'm going to show it to you. And after today, I'll arrange for Taylor to see which one of you would like access to it. But this is a very, very powerful part of our work. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Very good. And I'll just tuck that away there. So what you're looking at here is, and most of you know, I wrote the book Frameworks. And Frameworks is where we discuss lead generation, lead conversion, and client fulfillment. However, when you get your login to this, you'll see that we've got capture, send, connect, convert. And just so you know how a framework works, you've got horizontal and vertical management. But this is my entire personal library that I would like you to have. So for example, every one of you got to capture data, send something, connect with them, convert it, present, compete, get it listed, selling, sold, and retain the clients. But when you go into here, firstly, there's an overview. Let's log back in. One moment. So there's an overview. In the overview, in this particular one, it's Phil Harris and myself explaining what capture is, and then there are all the assets that are in that. But you can just go back to here and say, okay, I want to master service area. You go into service area, there's a list of videos, content snacks, audio. So all my famous audios pertaining to service area live in there, and they just tuck away beautifully. Now, all the assets work the same all the way through. So if you go to a document, the street campaign, 10 steps to mastering a database, you can just download them in there. Now, if you go to prospecting letters, there's videos, but if you go to the letters and emails, so the price drive letter, you just click on it, cut and paste the text, and it's there. But all the famous letters, all the famous audios live in here. Does that make sense, everyone? And they just tuck away beautifully as a digital library. Back again. So robot marketing, social media. So there's the prospecting capture, send, mainstream marketing, promotions and letters. So there's video tips in here, letters and emails. Click on it, there's the text. And this is some of the best work of the best agents in the country who've shared their content within here. But what you do is pick a lane that you could be having a challenge with. And so let's say it's send. You go into audio, and there is the audios pertaining to that part of it. But today, we are in listing and selling. So in weeks 1 and 2 of a campaign, the shift to focus letter and reversed engineered emails is in there as well. But this is such a great resource for everything you guys do with me, audios, letters, documents, and videos right through. So when I say, what do you want to do to progress further in your career? Greg, you mentioned in the present. So you'd go into present and say listing presentations, what videos are in there, and you can see the video playlist, and all the famous agents are in there who've contributed to that, and you know who they are. But then you may say, okay, that's all good, but I'm going to listen to my audio diet, your property consultancy and selling plan, the complete selling plan part 2, best of the real estate hot topic series. But whatever you're trying to fix, that audio for the Matt Steinmade system about his listing system, all the famous audios we've ever done are pertaining to the area that you want to fix it in. And then if there's any other links you need from there, you can go in there as well. And that is where they work. But I really want you to understand that everything we do lives in this framework. So if it's the sold process, so it was mentioned before that, you know, that sold to settlement time is something that I want to work on, you'll find the answer in here somewhere, and there's such a great resource for you to use. All good, everyone? So if that is something, I'd love you to have access to it. So we just need to set up your logins for it, but that will become your complete resource library, because every one of you live your career in a framework. And it's no different to when we first started working together and we had to discuss how we sell a house. So, and I'll just bring that on screen. So we've got it. Now, this one has been done for you before, and I did this one when Wendy and I put this together for the group. Okay, another framework for you. When you look at the horizontal and vertical management. There is milestones, steps, and actions to what you do. So every one of you have to activate a property to the market. Then it goes to the processing stage, then to the design stage. Number 4 is release, 5 launch, 6 market, 7 review, negotiate, sold, and settlement. Every one of your properties right now is at some stage of that timeline. Now, your one has been done. Wendy has this of yours. And it's a very important thing that you personally know. How do you sell a house? So when you activate it, you got your signed agency agreement and agent compliance form done, process and admin design. But then you start to say, okay, we're releasing to the marketplace. This is where you start to put in your conversations and everything that you do. Because when you talk about perfecting the sales process, you've got to be able to see it. And if you can't see it, you won't do it. But it's a really, really important part of the conversation. And you have that slide, but I'll get you my slides today as well. But when I look at this particular session, and I know we're coming up to the end of our 45 minutes, Greg, your question was, how do I strip it back, get less across, but have more impact in what you do? And that's where that vendor involvement piece becomes very important. For those of you claiming doors, 20 price updates out a day, warming up the data, working off the rebound is how that works. Another key learning from today was our fees, 1, 2, 3. So you're delivering in a sequence of what it is, and then the 4 components that we discuss at the listing conversation. What's the property worth? How long is it going to take to sell? What are the changeover costs? And how we market the home should they decide to move, or should they decide to engage our services? I've got a random question coming in from Pete here. Random question and off topic. Happy to take this offline. Have recently moved to Port Macquarie after working out of Neutral Bay with the agency. Hello. Therefore, starting from ground zero, I've compiled a lot of data, phone numbers and emails of property owners. Yep. What would you advise on claiming doors and appraisals? Let me answer that for you straight away. And this is a good part of our recording. Let me just bring this up on the screen for you. So, and this is a really good point for everyone watching this right now. The most important thing any of us can do in the claiming door sequence is this. Okay, this is our sequence, claiming doors. We need 900 doors to get 46 transactions. And orphan data is a great way of doing it. The buyer sellers are the very best ones that you can work with, investors. But if they've got a pulse and a title, we need to claim the door. Then we get them on our price update. And the price update scheduler is now out, and I know you are using that. Then we've got to call and connect. So you've sent the price update, but warming up the data is the skill. So call and connect becomes the skill. And I just know I sent you a price update 2 weeks ago. Did you receive it? Yes, they did. And you've seen that they've opened it 4 or 5 times before. Send something. For all of you, your digital inspections, your web book, your property on your website, send something with that phone call of, we've just listed a property, not on the portals as yet, just sent you a link. The buyer who buys this one would buy your one. So follow it and I'll let you know what it's sold for. Price update number 2 happens. Then we get our just listed links out for any other of our properties, book the appraisal or the assessment, send our digital introduction as a pitch, then inspect and present, which is where we're going to interview the owner and Greg, strip it back as much as we can, and then our signed agency agreement. But that sequence is still the most powerful returning sequence in the country right now. But I think the first 1 to 5 becomes very, very important, as that is how we are working the data. Okay, so Peter, I hope that answers your question. To everyone today, fees, 1, 2, 3, the 4 parts that we're going to discuss in the presentation, the everything email, please go through that. And then we've also got the thank you for listing letter. When we're managing vendor expectations, they become the critical parts of what we do. But don't just use it as a template. Actually live into and read into what those are saying And that concludes our session. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And I think in our next session, we have a guest speaker still to be confirmed. And please let Taylor know if you would like a login to Frameworks Digital, and we'll arrange it for you straight away. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.